At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
KFI and YouTube, it's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and we have a huge show. We have a big show. We have an important show for you tonight. Let me tell you, we have some Olympics updates as far as the venues which have been approved. LA County wants to double the fines for street racing and takeovers, and when I tell you what the fines were, you will laugh at the idea of them doubling. When you double nothing, you get nothing. Nothing from nothing means nothing. Got to have something. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. Plenty to talk about, but I wanted to start with this. And Mark Ronner didn't know this, but he did mention it in his news break. First, good evening, Mark Ronner.
Hello, Mo.
You weren't in Los Angeles for the original Menendez brothers trial.
No, not in 1989. Or when was the trial?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. It's pre-internet. It's pre-cable news. It's pre-OJ. But it was still a very, very high-profile case. And I remember it very well. And if I told you that two brothers, decided to shotgun both their parents, including shotgunning their mother in the face while she was crawling on the floor, those two guys might be released. Possibly. It's not a high likelihood, but might be released at the end of this week after their resentencing hearing. You would probably say no way in hell. If you remember the original trial, no real new evidence has come forward. Now, there have been new allegations, and there has been a letter which has been submitted to the court arguing that the boys were molested. But if you know anything about the specifics of the double murder, this was not about no choice, have to kill him now. It wasn't like they were in imminent danger.
Right.
This was about revenge or a plot just to get the family inheritance. I don't see how in the world our justice system could seriously consider letting these guys out. What I mean by letting them out, they were sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. And after this resentencing hearing, which begins tomorrow, and KFI's own Michael Monks will be there all day to cover it for us, just so you know, they're arguing, I should say, the Menendez defense is arguing that their sentence should be reduced to 50 years and that they would have served the requisite amount of that 50-year sentence to be eligible for parole. And since they've been, quote unquote, model citizens, that would set the stage for them to be released immediately. I don't know how in the world, if you have any memory of the original case, of the original atrocity of that murder, just because someone has been a good kid in prison for the past 30 some odd years, they were originally sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Not life in prison without the possibility of parole unless you're a model prisoner. I don't think there's any wiggle room here, but I'm not the lawyer, and somehow, some way, I know part of this is attributable to George Gascon, the previous DA, who set this in motion and said that he was open to the idea of them being released. Now, our present LA County DA, Nathan Hochman, said, no, not at all. He does not support that. But since the resentencing procedure was already set in motion prior to Nathan Hochman taking office, we're going to have to see this to its conclusion. And if the past is prologue, there is a possibility, now I would not say a distinct possibility, But there is a slight possibility that these two guys could be out of prison, by the end of Friday.
It is a little mind-blowing. I think of it from the point of view of a former Child Protective Services worker, because allegations of abuse are at the core of the case. And I used to be close with a author named Andrew Vax, who wrote crime books, and they centered on child abuse survivors fighting crime and carrying out heists in one form or another. And I'm always focused on the people who had an abusive childhood who didn't kill somebody. And that's most people. Mm-hmm. And it's just, the lens that I look at this through. I think there are nuances to the case. And certainly when you hear Hochman talk about it, he's not convinced that the brothers are remorseful or that there is adequate evidence of sexual abuse, that kind of thing. But I think you touched on it right at the beginning when you started talking about this. Nobody forced anybody to pull that trigger. And there are an infinite number of child abuse victims of one sort of abuse or another who survive the abuse and don't go on to do anything like that ever.
But beyond that, the abuse which was alleged was only alleged of the father.
Right.
In other words, the mother has nothing to do with any of this at any point at any time, and yet they still shot her in the face with a shotgun after first, I think, shooting her in the leg with the shotgun. They need to go reload and then finish her off. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not exaggerating. This was a cold-blooded murder, at least of the mother. So it strains credulity, as they say, as far as this being about their own physical safety or in response to sexual child abuse.
Yeah, I think I hate it when we agree, but I think you're right on the mark here. There is just cause to be skeptical of the whole situation.
I don't like either that they're getting to the chance to basically have an appeal and they're relitigating the case. When it has been litigated, they have been sentenced, and yet because of a more sympathetic LA County DA, I think they're getting more than their fair share of justice. And I shudder to think what would happen if they actually were let off. It would be a tremendous miscarriage of justice.
Well, you understand their family being in support of that. That's, but that can't dictate how we carry out our laws and our
you
our
gotta be
values.
specific. Family members of the victims are not in support. Now, there are some family members of Lyle and Eric. You have to go down the family tree to distinguish between that. Not everyone is in support of these two getting parole. They may have been model citizens for the past 35 years that they've been in prison, but they weren't sentenced to 50 years in prison. They weren't sentenced to prison with the possibility of parole. They weren't sentenced to death either, but they were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, not with the possibility of, well, let's take a look and see in 35 years and maybe we'll amend this.
It's off-putting to find that something like that can depend on the whims of a particular prosecutor.
Right, a particular one. We're going to follow this. And as I was saying, KFI's own Michael Monks will be at the courthouse to give us the latest over the next couple of days. So you will hear that decision as it comes down immediately here on KFI. It's Later with Mo Kelly, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app and on YouTube at Mr. Mo Kelly on YouTube. When we come back, we're going to talk about the LA Quality of Life Survey and see if it's accurate.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Or not.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And YouTube. The 10th annual UCLA/Luskin School Quality of Life Index Survey is now out. And you could imagine that it probably wasn't all good for the city of Los Angeles. According to the results, this year's results are on par with how people were feeling last year. And last year, they weren't too satisfied with L.A. And this is about L.A. County, not just L.A. City. The survey found that most residents are worried about losing their homes and getting food on the table. Job security and the state of the economy are also weighing heavily on respondents' minds. When you throw in the wildfires to this year, it added to the difficulties with housing across the county. Researchers found the collective trauma of January's wildfires was widespread, with the effects felt beyond just Altadena and Pacific Palisades. To put some numbers to it, more than 2/5 of respondents in the county said they know someone impacted by the fires. About 14% had a large loss of income because of the fires, and 13% said in some aspect they felt a hit. What they mean by that is you may not have lost your house, but your place of employment may have burned down. Or your owner, your boss's house may have burned down. Maybe you had to lay off some people. So you felt the fires, but not directly. The survey also explored recovery efforts, and 89% of people said homeowners who lost their homes in the fire should be able to rebuild on their property. I guess the main takeaway from this, and I think it's fair to say no one understands this more so than Tuala of the people in this studio. The real takeaway is people felt the fires, and that has had an indelible mark on how we feel about LA County. And you can say we did not necessarily handle the fires well. There's a debate to be had there. We have not handled the cleanup and debris removal. We have not handled the rebuilding process well, and that probably is the largest component of the quality of life survey when you have so many displaced people. And to all, I think it's fair to say you're still displaced.
Absolutely. And I can understand this year's quality of life survey taking a hit. I get it, all things considered. But this past weekend, I was out cleaning up some of the remains of our house. And when I say cleaning up, I mean taking stuff out and putting it outside to be thrown away and taking what we could salvage to storage. Our neighbor across the street came by and just to take one last kind of look at their house, and their house is gone, and they still have joy in their hearts. They still have smiles on their faces. They are still looking forward to rebuilding and coming back home to Altadena. So it's relative. It's on the outside looking in. Yes, things may look grim, but as surprising as it may sound, I know so many people who are hopeful even in this. So when I look at a study like this, I'm like, I don't know if the people who are doing this research were boots on the ground. They may be casually putting out surveys and things like that. But if you walk through the city, even through all the red tape, and I promise you, I have had it up to here with the red tape and the rigmarole. It is frustrating to no end. But even through that, the fight to go on, the hope to keep hoping is there.
Let me push back on that, because I would say this survey about the quality of life speaks to then until now, past until present. And when you say hopeful, you're talking about looking forward, what may lie in the future. Mm-hmm. And if I were one of the people who lost a home, I would say my quality of life has suffered dramatically. Doesn't mean that I can't be made whole. It doesn't mean that 2026 might be better than my 2025. But I know my 2025 started off in a pretty horrible way. And my quality of life, temporary housing, going through all that red tape that you're talking about, that you can't deny.
Yes.
I understand it. Now, my only real qualm with this survey is it's more about the feeling and less about the actual quality, because much of it has been connected to fires and how we feel about the fires, not our actual quality of life being impacted by the fires. Yes, I understand if your boss lost his or her house and that meant that you lost your job, you know, depending on the circumstances, yeah, that directly impacts your quality of life. I wonder, given this incessant hating on LA and LA County, you can get on social media, you can see it in the news, everything is bad about LA.
I think it's more to do with that, because again, you cannot have an accurate survey that goes through the entirety of 2024 and even through the beginning of 2025, because we're only hitting,
we're not even 6 months
we're
in.
not even 6 months in.
No.
So this can't be a 2025 survey.
Yeah.
So this is arguably a 2024 survey. And if the snapshot that you're taking is just that of that period during the wildfire, then this is on its surface a dishonest survey to say like the entirety, the quality of life is down. And if you say the wildfire, that's like, whoa, what about the entire rest of 2024? Was all of that bad?
Or the rest of LA County.
Or the rest of LA County. That's what I'm saying. I don't trust or believe in this survey. This sounds like they went around talking to people in January after the fire. And yeah, you're going to get one perspective just to that moment. But did you talk to people about life before that? And where are you going and getting your survey qualifiers? Are you just talking to the I hate LAs?
Mm-hmm. And I always wonder, it's always, we see the numbers, but we don't see the specific questions that are being asked. We see the summations. Mm-hmm. We see the assumptions that they're made about the data, but we're not seeing how it's asked, when it's being asked, and the sample size of where they're asking. I'm quite sure if you went to Irvine and asked about the quality of life in Los Angeles County, I know Irvine's in Orange County, you're going to get a different perception of it. Even though it's in a different county, you're relying on a perception of over there. That's my point.
Yes.
And if you ask me where I am close to Inglewood as opposed to someone who's in the valley, it's going to be a different quality of life altogether. It's just different. You know, the things that I'm dealing with, they're not dealing with.
This reminds me, when I see this survey, it reminds me of every local Republican politician who is running for state office, who quotes the issues that they have with the state with what they're seeing in maybe LA where they don't live. They're saying, look at life in Los Angeles. It's horrible, but you live in San Bernardino. What are you talking about?
That ain't
life
LA.
in Los Angeles. So that's what I'm saying. When I see studies like this, I go, nah, I call BS, because this is not a really thoroughly vetted survey or study about the quality of life here in Southern California, which they're almost trying to make it juxtaposed against all of Southern California, which I read through this. I'm like, it sounds like you're saying Southern California. It doesn't sound like you're just talking about even LA.
Yeah, it sounds like confirmation bias. It felt like, well, this is what that's why I said, well, the results this year are similar to last year. Well, it can't be, because from the way it's phrased, from the way it's set up, the wildfires had a distinct impact and level of importance on feelings this year. Well, if they're similar to last year and we didn't have the wildfires in LA County, then the results should not be similar by the way that they're presenting them. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app and YouTube. And I don't care what anyone says. I happen to love LA. That's part of the reason why I use that bumper. I love LA, be it LA City or LA County. I know it has its warts, but I ain't moving to Mississippi. That's for damn sure. I ain't moving to all those other places talking about, oh, we hate California. It's a cesspool. Yeah, okay. That's why you live out there.
Try Indiana sometime. You'll love it.
No, that's okay. I'll pass.
Yeah, that was a joke.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, also on YouTube. The chat is going. Carnation, very quickly, going back to the Menendez brothers, you told me more than 90% of respondents in the chat saying
94% said no.
Keep them in jail, keep them in prison. As far as quality of life, what were they saying? Pull that microphone to you. It's on.
Quality of life, 62% said no, they're not satisfied. 37% said they are satisfied.
All right. Okay. Me personally, I'm satisfied. And you can't say I don't know what I'm talking about. I was born in LA, raised in LA, lived in LA. You know, I have always been in LA. Now, different communities, and there's something else to be said about LA, because LA is a different community. If I told you about Harbor City, it's going to be very different from Burbank. If I told you about K-Town, Koreatown, where Tiffany Hobbs lives, it's very different from maybe Altadena. But in the conversation of LA County, all of those opinions are valid. And I would take LA County over most counties. Orange County is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But everything I want to do, everywhere I want to go, is LA County. Are there times I like going to Seal Beach or maybe Newport Beach? Absolutely. Maybe do some shopping in Ontario or something like that? Yes. But my life is in LA County. My quality of living? Not bad. Does it have warts? Absolutely. Are there things which need to be improved? Yes. But if we're going to generalize talking about the quality of life, only folks who are actually inside of LA County can speak to the quality of life because we're the ones who are living here. And I always chuckle when I hear from someone from Ventura County or San Bernardino County, San Diego County, Orange County, talking about how bad LA is. You don't live here. How are you going to tell me what life is like? Anyhow, let's talk about the Olympics. Dodger Stadium and get this, Universal Studios among the venues which have been added for the Olympics in 2028.
LA28 announced its updated 2028 Olympic venue plan following approval from the International Olympic Committee Executive Board. This includes Dodger Stadium, as we mentioned. Baseball will make its Olympic return. Now, the mayor says LA will become the third city in the world to host the Summer Olympics 3 times, and the venues selected are going to showcase the best of our city. The plan will bring games to all corners of the city, from the Sepulveda Basin to the shores of Venice Beach. Now, in preparation, local leaders say this is going to help small businesses create jobs and lasting transportation improvements.
I am all about the Olympics, and at the same time, I want no parts of the LA Olympics. I know it's going to be a cluster truck. Talk about quality of life. During the Olympics for Angelenos, it's going to be rough. It's going to be difficult. I may get to an event. I don't know. Now, we know that Mayor Karen Bass has said that she wants this to be a car-free Olympics. I don't know how that's going to be possible, even with the best of intentions and also the best money thrown at it. And also, Twala, I don't know if you saw this, the Universal Studios lot, the lot, is going to be a venue for the Olympics. It will be hosting squash. Not the food, but
because
the
that's
game.
Very popular. That's a very popular
It is?
sport, and that's what people want to see, especially at Universal Studios Lot. No. And the very fact that you would have to say on a given day, go from the Sepulveda Basin recreation area to watch 3-on-3 basketball, Dodger Stadium to watch baseball, and then you want to try to go through Venice Beach to watch the marathon, triathlon, and road cycling to finish a day at Universal Studios for squash. That's too much driving in LA.
I would not do any of those. I would do better to just sit home and watch it on TV with the great coverage and maybe Snoop Dogg offering his commentary.
I want to hear Snoop talk about squash.
Again.
Yes, please.
Look, I get squash is a popular game in the way that pickleball is popular. I just don't have any desire to watch it on TV. I'm going to watch most of the Olympics on TV. That will not be one of the games that I'll be watching. It's curious to see how they would dress it up at a movie lot. You couldn't go like to, I don't know, a college, a university, and use one of their squash courts or a tennis court or something like that, or something,
No, you really want to try to dress up every single thing you can. And I think Universal Studios, I think they got a nod because NBC gets the Olympics. So
and NBC, Universal, same company. Oh, I see what you're talking about. One hand watching the other. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe they'll have one of the other events at Interscope Records.
Right out front.
In Santa Monica. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mark, are you going to venture possibly to any of the games in a professional or personal capacity?
I think instead I'll stay indoors and watch Tubi.
Okay, that's a no.
You ever played squash, Mo?
I don't think I have.
It is such a hard game. And not the greatest spectator sport on earth, but I played a few times when I was younger, and a guy who was about the age of my grandfather absolutely smoked my ass.
So you're a squasher.
Well, I know how to play, and I've played, but it's hard. It's exhausting.
Yeah. What's the difference between squash and racquetball?
the squash ball is just like inert. It's like smacking around a white dwarf star. It's terrible. It's really hard.
Okay.
So it's not like highlight.
No. Highlight is like those long arm length.
That's what
gloves.
I thought squash was close to.
No. Highlight is basically only played in like Miami.
Yeah, squash, you're hitting a dwarf star.
Yes.
Okay. Because highlight is like racquetball on steroids.
That's the one you see at the beginning of every Miami Vice episode.
Right. Squash is played indoors, but like this, like on the size of a racquetball court. You playing against a wall.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of finesse to it too. Like I said, you might think that you're in superior physical shape, but somebody who just looks like, a granny from the Beverly Hillbillies might be able to kill you.
Oh, that anyone can beat me in squash. I've never played in my life. I've watched it very infrequently. I have no delusions. Pickleball as well. That's something that I'll never pick up. I have no desire to play. Golf, no desire.
Oh, no.
I just don't have any desire to play those sports. I don't look down on people who do. Well, maybe pickleball I do. But for the most part, I don't look down on anyone who plays those sports. I just don't have any interest in them.
Are you still not down with flag football being in the Olympics?
Yes, I'm not down with flag football being in the Olympics. I'm down with flag football for 8-year-olds. Absolutely.
Oh, they can't.
Absolutely. I played flag football as a kid. Yeah, it's not an Olympic sport. Carnation, don't look at me like that. It has no business being in the Olympics.
He's serious. He is not down with flag football in the Olympics.
No, it's a game. It's a kid's game.
We're not far from what is it? The video game people being
gamers. Professional gamers.
Yeah. Okay. Esports.
Yeah, why not? If you can have that ball and the stick thing, why the hell not?
Well, see, that's the thing. When you have rhythmic gymnastics, that's the answer to everything.
Yes.
As long as rhythmic gymnastics and you have the ribbon and everything, as long as that's considered an Olympic sport, then everything is an Olympic sport.
I don't even like you dignifying it by calling it its proper name. It's that ball on the stick BS thing.
The only reason I know that is because I've similarly felt this about rhythmic gymnastics my whole entire life. You have people doing quadruple backflips, somersaults, floor exercises, and then you have someone out there with a ribbon rolling around on a mat, and they're getting the same gold medal, the exact same gold medal.
The USC is being taken over. Yes,
it's worth
USC
about
Sports Center. Rhythmic gymnastics.
A medal for that is worth as much as the breakdancing one that went to that nice Australian lady.
No. She didn't get it. She didn't get a medal. She came in last.
She got booed off the stage.
Okay, whatever.
Later,
it's all the same.
Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, bringing you an expanding library of education with even more ways to sharpen your trading skills. Access new online courses, insightful webcasts, articles, engaging videos, and more, all curated just for traders. Plus, guided learning paths with content designed to fit your unique interests. No sifting to find exactly what you need, so you can spend your time learning to trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I want you to log on to YouTube right now so you can see Later with Mo Kelly. You'll see me talking about these stories. You will see Mark Ronner deliver the news. You will see Tuala Sharp try to act like that he's not on the payroll of Waymo. You will see Stefan ignore us when we say something very funny and we don't get a rim shot. You get to see my disgust and disdain. You get to hang out in the chat room, and then you get to hear from Carnation, who's monitoring the chat room and giving out the percentages of all these polls that we're posting. It's an interactive show. So come join us. Come join the party. Sign up and subscribe. It's free. Just follow me at Mr. Mo Kelly on YouTube. MrMokelly. Something else that we've been discussing over the past year or so would be these street takeovers. We talked about what we have not been doing, what we need to do to possibly put a stop to them, or at least de-incentivize these folks from doing it. Here's what the LA County Board of Supervisors have come up with, unfortunately. And I do mean unfortunately. LA County Board of Supervisors have approved a motion 3-0 to double the fines for street takeovers and sideshows. And there's also a social media component to it. Sideshows are when groups of cars take over a large intersection to street race and perform burnouts. Current civil penalties, get this, current civil penalties for these street takeovers and sideshows, $500. It's almost like you find a sponsor. There's no reason not to do it. What is $500 going to do? Honestly, they are spending more than $500 worth of rubber on the street.
Is it $500 and they take your car?
It just says $500. If approved, the new motion would double the civil penalty to a whole $1,000. That'll show them. That'll make them stop doing that in our streets. A whole $1,000. Also, the proposal also aims to enable, quote, removing posts and demonetizing profiles that promote illegal sideshows on major social media platforms. Quote, live streaming these illegal events often causes an influx of participants and can facilitate a localized environment, becoming more prone to rapid growth in the illegality, often overwhelming law enforcement efforts to mitigate and disperse the events. So they're going to actually remove your post and keep you from monetizing those posts.
Really taking off the kid gloves, huh?
Ooh. They're making it very, very difficult for people to either stream or attend these street takeovers. A whole $1,000.
So $1,000 and you lose your license for life, right?
No. Mm-mm.
$1,000 and your car is towed, your parents' cars are towed, everyone you know's car's towed?
Well, I don't know if they actually stop you and you're one of the cars participating. I'm quite sure they could impound your car, but the penalty beyond that, they're only saying it's $1,000 now, if approved.
Oh, if. Oh, this isn't even a sure thing. It may just stay at the 500.
Yes. It has to go through another round of voting, it seems. Another vote needs to be held to fully approve the proposal's language. Yeah. Street races have been up nearly 50% in 2024 from 2023. And street takeovers rose 2% to 190 in the same period. So whatever we have been doing has not limited, or as I said before, de-incentivized them from participating in it, from live streaming it, from posting it. And now we might have the solution. Just double the menial fine. Me personally, I'd set it to $10,000. That would probably make someone think twice. Fine 2 people $10,000. That probably will start putting a cramp in some of this behavior. Because either the person's going to pay for it or their mom and daddy will have to pay for it.
Send them to El Salvador.
That too.
You like
without
that?
due process.
Exactly.
Because that's what we do in America now.
You own a car? Put them on a plane.
That's right. Put their car on a plane. Send them and their car to El Salvador.
That'll learn them.
We can get rid of like 3 problems at once. We can stop illegal immigration and legal immigration. We can get rid of all the brown people and all the people conducting these street takeovers. We can make America great again in 1 week.
Yeah. But first you got to catch them because they can't seem to catch them. We always see the posts after they've happened. We always see the damage.
Stop making sense.
The destruction after.
Stop making sense.
We rarely see the police raids where they swooped in and got everybody.
I drive down my street every night and I see nothing but the tire treads. And it's like, I can tell you they're going to be back here tonight.
We got that in our neighborhood all night too. That's all I hear when I'm out back at like 2 a.m. working out.
It's not a secret.
It's all around the neighborhood.
It's not a secret. Everybody knows where they are. But,
I could walk out and do a citizen's arrest.
KFI AM 640 and YouTube. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
It's hard to keep track of everything that's going on. Luckily, that's a little hobby of ours.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.